make it count.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball podcast brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I am the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com and at Yahoo Sports Australia. And you can find me on Twitter as always at redrock_bball and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today we are looking back at the action for Thursday and previewing a big 10 games in the NBA on Friday. Michael Bolton.
Let's get to it.
Let's get to it indeed. But before I get stuck into things, I just want to put something out there. I guess it's sort of personal, but it's also to do with this show. You would have noticed on the Friday shows recapping the Thursday games in general, I'm not covering the final game of the day. There's a pretty clear reason for that. Most of you who listen to this podcast are well aware that on the opening day of the season, my partner had a pretty significant car accident. And realistically, if she had been sitting anywhere else apart from the driver's seat, she would be dead. And look, obviously that's it didn't happen, and that's obviously really thankful for that. It's pretty miraculous. She got out of the car, which looks almost like a tennis ball with only the driver's seat intact. Everything else just completely crushed in. So that makes you reevaluate a lot of things that you do in your life and realize that any sort of split second, anything can change and anything can be taken away. So, in saying that, how that relates to the Thursday games, I do want to try, I was working 13, 14, 15-hour days doing this podcast and all the other work I do for fantasy basketball, and I'm still putting out, obviously, tons of content, 7, 8 hours a week of content, mini shows, full recap shows, all that sort of stuff throughout the week, plus all my writing, plus all the projections and comments over on Basketball Monster, all that sort of stuff. But what happens here is on after the Thursday games, which to me is a Friday here in Australia, that late game, my son actually plays cricket on a Friday night here. So I want to be able to maximize me being able to see him do these things, because at any point you never know what's going to change. And to me, missing that last game so I can get the podcast out to you guys, so I can go and watch him do these things, play in his sporting contests, it became more apparent to me of how important it was for me to go and do those things. So basically, it's one game out of the week that I don't cover when I do these shows. That's going to make today's show a weird one because there's only 2 games on, so we're going to be recapping one game, looking at injuries across the league, and then previewing what happens on Friday. But that's the reason why that late game on the Thursday night games, again, Friday here in Australia, why I haven't been recapping that game. Now, it still gets recapped over on Basketball Monster in the box scores. I write up literally every single game of the year over there with comments on between 3 and 7 players per game, depending on what's happening and what's relevant. We go through, myself and Kyle McEwen, we recap every single game over there. It's just that for that Thursday night game, the late game, that is why I don't put that on the podcast, because I'm just trying to reevaluate in terms of work-life balance and being there for important things that I find important in my life and my family because of that recent shake-up and scare that we did have in our lives. So I think that is important for you guys to know that. Other people always like, Josh, where are the awards, the monstrous line of the night? That's part of that as well, because in doing that, in putting those awards in the show, which I feel, that was something that I've done for 6 seasons on the show and started out, back when this show had 10 people listening to it. I don't think that's actually offered much in terms of fantasy analysis, but it also added an extra 2-3 hours. It might seem that that's not the case, but it added, or maybe 3 hours is a stretch, but at least 1.5 to 2 hours of extra time in terms of producing the show and doing content, creating the graphics for those players. But most importantly, to award nightly players of the day, every game has to have been finished for that day for me to go through and do that and then record the show. Whereas the way I'm doing things now, bits and pieces can be recorded at different times, so that I'm not doing an overall view of who was one good player of the day when 30 times of the year that's James Harden and 20 more times it's Giannis Antetokounmpo, or maybe this year it's Luka Doncic for every single young gun of the night. So cutting that out has actually enabled me to be able to partake in more of those family life activities, being there at dinner, being able to take my son to and from activities that he's doing, watching him play with all his sporting things, taking my partner to and from medical appointments, being around for dinner, those sort of things. So that is the reason for those couple of changes in the show you've seen this season. I apologize if that pisses you off or annoys you, but I did have to make those changes just in terms of my own personal anxiety levels and stress levels and work levels and general overall happiness. I don't think the quality of this show really has changed in any sort of regard there, and again trying to make up for it by doing some of these other little shows, which I find I think, I'm not a listener, I'm the guy producing it, I think those mini shows are providing quite a bit of value and quite a bit of interest, and I hope you guys are enjoying them. And if you ever got any ideas for one of those mini 10 to 15 minute shows, I've got sort of 4 of them set in stone, and then what we do for the 5th one will rotate between top 18 players, rookie report, and I'm happy for any other suggestions if you've got for mini shows that I can throw in there as well. So sorry for this intro to the show, which it did take quite a while here as I go through those explanations. I just feel like it's important for me to get those things out so everybody knows, rather than replying to people one by one, getting the messages, getting it out there. I'm sure I'm still going to, because not everyone listens to every show. But that is the idea behind that, so I appreciate everyone's understanding with it, and hopefully that just gives everyone a little bit more clarity in terms of why those certain things have happened for this season. If you want clarity in the best way for you to go out there and support your team during Thanksgiving week, MyBookie is offering a risk-free bet on the Bears-Lions game. Simply choose a team against the spread for up to $250, and if you win, congrats. You've got extra holiday spending money. And if you got that spending money, hey, I'd go and buy a Minnesota Timberwolves City Edition jersey. Maybe I'd buy one with Andrew Wiggins' name on the back. If you lose, also, congratulations to you as well. MyBookie will give you all of your money back. It's a no-brainer because you literally cannot lose. It's all gravy and no risk. It doesn't matter whether you're an experienced player or a first-time customer. MyBookie welcomes all to come play. So quit waiting around and sign up today. Do you find yourself wanting to sports bet but have lots of questions? Don't sweat it. MyBookie's patient customer service team can walk you through the process. And the best part is, if you join this Thanksgiving week, you'll still have one last shot to take advantage of their incredible sign-up offer. Log on to mybookie.ag and make your first deposit with the promo code LOCKEDONNBA. And MyBookie will match your deposit dollar for dollar to jumpstart your bankroll, and that's on top of the risk-free bet. Let me repeat, a guaranteed deposit match and a risk-free bet for Thanksgiving only. Only if you are a true sports fan. You don't want to let this opportunity pass you by. Make sure you do your part to support your team this season. Hop on the gravy train and get in the action with MyBookie. You play, you win, and you get paid. All right, so after all of that initial diatribe is in the books, let's look at that first game of the day for the NBA on Thursday, and that was the Milwaukee Bucks getting over the line against the Portland Trail Blazers, 137-129. There was no Damian Lillard, there was no Hassan Whiteside, obviously no Yusuf Nurkic or Zach Collins, so it's hard to get a full read on this Blazers side of things, but CJ McCollum put up some big numbers. 38 minutes, 37 points, 6 rebounds, 10 assists, 3 blocks, 5 triples. If I had a Sal-High klaxon, I'd be sounding it right now. He's putting up nice peripherals. The blocks are a surprise. His assist numbers, his efficiency numbers are really high. This is the classic Sal-High moment for McCollum. Any top 50 player you can get back, that is the sort of look I'd be going for here with CJ. Really screaming as a Sal-High guy. But props to him, that's a really big performance, and he's been massive over the last couple of weeks. Skal Labissiere, I thought he would start for Whiteside. In fact, I think he might actually be a better starting center than Hassan Whiteside for the rest of the season, but I'm not sure Terry Stotts sees it that way, because we know Hassan Whiteside is the world. Skal played 28 minutes. He had 22 and 12. He blocked 5 shots. He was at 63% from the field. Now, when Whiteside is back, will Labissiere go back to playing those spot backup minutes behind him? Most likely. Maybe it's 20 minutes a night as Hassan plays 28. Maybe. He's looked really, really good recently. He's locked in as the backup center with Collins out, with Nurkic out, with Pau Gasol waived. Skal is going to have that role, but let's not get too excited about this unless, for some reason, Stotts goes, screw this shit, we're starting him over Whiteside. I think there's a really low chance of that. I'd be all in favor of it, but I just don't think that's what's going to happen. They also made a curious change to the starting lineup today with Anthony Simons battling an ankle injury, and I really think Simons' ankle was bothering him. Of course, Dame Lillard was out. We had Gary Trent Jr. Is he a new one? Nice, Gary! 21 minutes for Gaza, 13 points, 3 triples, 2 assists, 1 steal, and 2 blocks. A really, really good fantasy line. But when everyone's been healthy, he hasn't even been in the rotation. So Lillard comes back, he takes that spot. Simon stays in his role, and Trent goes back to being a 4 or 5 minute a night guy. So while this is good, and it gives you some level of encouragement, I think he is a little bit Colin Sexton-y in terms of he's going to score and do very little else, although the defensive stats here are quite nice on the periphery. It was nice to see that. I'm just not so certain that it's something that we can super get interested in for a long term. As for Simons, just 17 minutes, 6 points. He should be nowhere near 12-team leagues. I've talked about that plenty of times. His inability to do anything apart from score, and then when the shot isn't there, he doesn't do too much else at all, and it wasn't there. But he was clearly bothered by that ankle injury. Kent Bazemore, only 18 minutes, 5 rebounds, 6 assists is pretty interesting for Bazemore. He does have his issues offensively, but he can get assists, he can get defensive numbers. He's not really too much of a 12-team must-roster guy. While Rocket Rodney Hood, 11 points on 5 of 5 shooting, 30 minutes, 4 assists, 2 steals. Hood is a perfect stream guy for a day like today, but otherwise, he's more of a 14-team league guy. Now, I guess I've buried the lead here because everyone wants to hear about Carmelo Anthony. 29 minutes for Melo, 18, 7, and 4. On the surface, that's pretty good. 3 triples for Melo. Still, 28% usage is too high. Now, it's much better than last game. But in saying all of this, McCollum, Labissiere, Trent, and Hood all had better fantasy games than him, as did Eric Bledsoe, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Pat Connaughton, Brook Lopez, and the big Ragu, Donte DiVincenzo. So out of all the players in this game, he had the 10th best fantasy line. The 29 minutes is encouraging. This shot is still not there. The 3 threes are nice. He is an interesting 14-team league guy. But when Lillard comes back, when Whiteside comes back, what's Melo's role going to be? I still think he's taking too many shots. 15 shots here, 29 to McCollum, 15 to Melo. I think it's too many. Especially when Hood didn't miss a shot and only took 5 of them. You worry about, and again, at the end of the first half, Melo had the ball, waved off CJ McCollum so he could try and take it to the rim and got the shit blocked out of the shot. Like, the lack of self-awareness there is a worry. Now, it's great seeing Melo back out there. He deserves an opportunity to at least see what he can do. He doesn't deserve an opportunity to take every shot under the sun and play 30 minutes a night. That should come down to how that works with the team. But he was better, significantly better in this game than he was in that one against the Pelicans. I just don't think he's a 12-team league guy. These sort of numbers, they're really borderline 12-team league. The 18 points is nice, and the 7 rebounds is pretty strong. No defensive numbers, poor percentages. But then when Dame comes back and Whiteside comes back, like, what's actually going to be happening with Melo? So I think, again, in so many of these cases, the bloke that picks up Melo, whoever the player is that he drops, in general, is probably going to be the better fantasy move to look at rather than sacrificing things to grab Carmelo onto your team. Anthony Tolliver, should mention him. He started at center, 8 points in 31 minutes. He was out of the rotation pretty much. While Nasir Little, 12 points in 17 minutes. No peripherals there. Good efficiency, 79% true shooting for Little. I would love to see him and Melo just split those minutes at power forward. It doesn't look like it's going to be the case, so Nasir goes back to being just a deeper league guy. For the Milwaukee Bucks, Eric Bledsoe, 30 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 steal, 52% shooting, 6 of 6 from the line. Eric Bledsoe is a good fantasy player. He is a good regular season player. He has some shit playoff moments. There's no doubt about that. But, again, the slumps come. He's always a buy low because he bounces back and he's good. Giannis Antetokounmpo, don't worry about free throw percentage, mate. It's done. Forget about it. 5 of 10 from the line. Also, a weird 9 of 27 from the field performance. But 24, 19, and 15. 3 steals, a block, and a 3. You might tell me you've got Giannis and you're not punting free throws. Newsflash to you, you're punting free throws. You cannot avoid that with Antetokounmpo at this point. Just breathe it in. You're just soaking it. You're punting them. That's it. You're not winning them with him. It's as simple as that. Brookie Lopez, 10 points, 2 blocks, 2 triples. A bit of a subpar performance from Brook after a couple of strong games. While the big Ragu, Donte DiVincenzo, 27 minutes, 16 and 6, 2 triples, a steal. 27 minutes is interesting. He's providing 12-team league value at the moment. Is he a must-add guy? Probably not. Is he close to an add? Yeah, look, I think he's worth looking at. Again, I'll continue to state this. I think he's better than Wes Matthews. I think at some point he's going to start over Wes Matthews, but just starting over Wes Matthews means he plays 24 minutes, because in that case, he's not a 12-teamer. 28 minutes, he probably is. But then you're going to have DiVincenzo, you're going to have Matthews, you're going to have Sterlo Brown, you're going to have Georgie Hill, all of these guys fighting for those 48 shooting guard minutes. Hill, obviously, some of those go towards the point guard spot when Middleton returns. So it is going to get pretty messy at that spot. Connaughton, really strong, 18 points on 70% shooting, not likely to stick. There, while Wesley Matthews, he had 4 threes of his own for 12 points in 30 minutes. And Ilyasova back in the rotation after taking last night off. to get DJ Wilson into the rotation. So that's how things look for that Milwaukee Bucks team. I think pretty much straightforward stuff there with those guys. Let's look at some injury news, and this is some big stuff that is important. Nikola Vucevic suffering that ankle injury. The report initially from Shams Charania is going to be at least 4 weeks. I think I pulled out a 3-week timetable out of my ass the other day. This sounds about right. He's going to be reevaluated in about 10 days. Reevaluation does not mean return. I think this injury is pretty significant, and we're looking at probably Christmas time is a decent enough guess for Vucevic. I think Kem Birch will start. Kem Birch will play 25 to 28 minutes. Mohamed Bamba.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
He will come off the bench still. He's on a minutes restriction. He is not good at all. He's a real liability, I believe. He blocks some shots. I don't think either of them are must-add 12-team league guys. If you're looking for a little bit of a boost in blocks, maybe Bamba can be an ad. But even then, it's more 14-teamer. Birch, maybe what's he going to max out at 11 and 11 with a block a game? Maybe. Is that fine for a 12-team league? Yeah, look, it's all right. But again, it depends on who you drop. It's a short-term situation. Birch is the better player at this point. And I think if they want to keep themselves in playoff contention, which they absolutely should, Birch is going to be the guy that give that to him. And that's why Birch replaced Bumba in the rotation at the end of last season before that leg stress fracture kept Mo out. Now, Mo is still on a restriction from that. He's sitting out back-to-backs. His minutes are low, so he's not playing 30 a night. If Mo Bamba played 30 a night, he'd put up enough numbers for him to be a 12-team league guy. They'd also lose every game, but he would put up those numbers. On top of that, as Gordon, with his ankle injury, they're calling it an ankle bruise. I think that this is going to... look, he hasn't been ruled out for any in particular length of time. I reckon we're looking at a week minimum here for Gordo. That is going to push the Chief, Al-Farouq Aminu.
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
It's going to push him into the starting lineup. It's going to boost the minutes for Terry Ross. I think it's going to boost the utility of DJ Augustin and Markelle Fultz. But the biggest winner, of course, is John Isaac. John Isaac usage is going to go up. They're going to use him more offensively. He is going to play more at center, his best position. Now, there are literally people who follow me or listen to this podcast where John Isaac is on the waiver wire. Now, I don't know how that's possible because I could not have stressed to you enough that Isaac should not be on any waiver wire anywhere. So if that is you, please, for the love of Hassan Whiteside, go and add him. He is going to put up some monster numbers. Look, the defensive stuff is probably going to be the same, but I think his rebounding goes up, and I think his offense is going to show out. You are going to get top 30, top 20 John Isaac, I reckon, for this time frame. He is now their best player. No, uncategorical. With Vucevic out and Gordon out, I think Isaac's better than Gordon anyway. Isaac's their best player, and he is going to put up numbers. Evan Fournier, his numbers are going to rise. His usage is going to rise. I think Fultz, you're going to see his minutes start to push up. All of those guys, Fournier and Fultz and Isaac, are all 12-team ads over a Kem Birch, over a Mo Bamba in that situation. Terry Ross, that depends on your team needs, but Ross over a Bamba Birch situation is probably the way to go as well. Aminu, like I said on yesterday's show, if you didn't like Al-Farouq Aminu as a must-roster player in Portland, then you're not going to like him as a must-roster player in Orlando. But he's a fringe guy in that 12 to 14 type range as well. So there's no one clear winner who's sitting there like, hey, a bloke's going to come in and approximate Vucevic, because it's just not going to happen. It's going to be a bunch of guys, and the majority of those guys are going to get that increased numbers, are going to be the players who, in general, should already be rostered. Now, Trev Ariza is out again for the Sacramento Kings with that groin issue / personal reasons. He won't play in the next 4 games. Good. That means we get more solidification of Bogdan Bogdanovic, who should be putting up some absolute rippers of numbers. He is I did the show earlier today, the top 18 players. He's the number 3 ranked player over the last 2 weeks, Bogdanovic. Good, because he is that bloody good. Actually, let me rephrase that. He's not that good. He's not the number 3 ranked player. Good, but he is good, and now Walton won't be forced to play Trevor Ariza over him, which was literally a thing that was happening at the beginning of the season. So Ariza out for the next few games. Cam Reddish has shown up on the injury report with a wrist issue. Draymond Green also still questionable with that heel soreness. And the other one that came out, Justice Winslow and Derek Jones Jr. are both out for the next 2 games for the Miami Heat. That increases the value of Tyler Hero, Kendrick Nunn, and Dunk Robinson. When Winslow and Jones return, I don't know what's going to happen in that Heat rotation. Someone is going to lose out. I went back and had a look today, and in those games where Butler and Winslow and Jones plays, the first one of those, Robinson played 1 minute, a garbage time special, and in the other one, he played 11 minutes. And he played 11 minutes because Tyler Hero played 15 minutes. So while we can look at what Dunk Robinson did last game, it was fantastic. While he fits well with the starters, all that, we've got 2 games of showing what actually happens in those fully healthy situations, and he was an afterthought. And if they're going to force him in, that means someone else is going to lose out. And I think that Robinson won't be a 12-team league guy. I don't even think Nunn and Hero are going to... Hero's not even a 12-team league guy now, although, of course, he's an interesting stream guy. And I think Nunn's going to drop off too. They're all going to sort of cannibalize each other as the Heat begin, eventually, at some point, begin to get healthy. That is the injury news. Let's move on to talk some DFS action for Friday, recapping or previewing what I think is going to happen across these games. The first game we take a look at is the Charlotte Hornets and the Washington Wizards. We're looking at DraftKings pricing here. It's a 10-game slate, a pretty juicy one indeed for this one. For the Hornets and the Wizards, no real major injury concerns here. At point guard, Isaiah Thomas is at 5,100. He has not been impressive the last couple of games. Can he beat this number? Yeah, pretty easily, and it's a good matchup for him, but only really interested in tournaments. Well, Devontae Graham at 6,900.
Giggity!
It's a nice price, but is it too high? His recent numbers haven't indicated that he is at that level. But again, the Wizards is a positive matchup for him, much like Thomas against the Hornets is a positive matchup. So at least puts him in somewhat of a level of play. 6,200 for Terry Rozier. The only reason I'd use Rozier here is because it is against the Wizards, while Malik Monk at 46 is probably priced himself out there. Ish Smith went bananas last game. I would put zero credence on that happening again. At shooting guard, Brattles Beal, 9,600. Beal is playing a shit ton of minutes. He's putting up a shit ton of shots, and he's putting up a shit ton of fantasy points. 54 average over the last 5. Let's shit ton him into our lineups. I like him at that salary. And then we go to Troy Brown Jr., who's doing nothing, and Nick Batum at 4,100, who could not be more passive, although Marc Gasol would probably have a few words to say about that. At small forward, Miles Bridges at 5,000. I still think he's got some GPP upside. I'm not super into him. While Davis Bertans at 5,200. Really like what Bertans is doing. He's taking the minutes, rightfully so, away from Rui Hachimura. I think he's okay at that 5,200. I'm not massively into it. And for the big man, Code Zeller, really been disappointing, averaging only 19 minutes over the last 3 games. Some foul trouble, some coaching decisions. It's a great matchup, positive matchup at going up against the Wizards for big man. I'm not super into Cody at 4,900 though, while the tank Tom Bryant at 6,600. Bit disappointing for him as well. Interestingly, they bumped his salary by $400. Not really sure why they did that. In fact, there's a lot of weird salary bumps over on DraftKings for this Friday slate. I think Bryant, the matchup again, does give you some hope. We've seen lots of big center numbers go off against the Hornets. I think at 66, he's okay, but not great. Paul Washington Jr. is struggling, and the salary hasn't come down, so that is a bit of a stay away there for me. Hachimura at 5,000. I see limited upside in him and a little bit of a low ceiling, while Flaming Mo Wagner... All right, Flaming Mo Wagner is at 4,700. He is crushing that number almost every game. It's hard to avoid him at this point, given what he's doing with a 29 average over the last 5. That's plenty at 4,700. But again, it is tough to rely upon a bloke getting 20 minutes to bring you back that value, but that's exactly what he's been doing. All right, the next game we've got up, the Atlanta Hawks and the Detroit Pistons. Cam Reddish is questionable. Markieff Morris also questionable with that knee issue from the last game. Tone Snell is out for the Pistons. At point guard, Trae Young's at 9,400. Hasn't quite been there recently, but I don't care. That's a great matchup for him. It's a great value for him. Really like him as a high-priced guy. While with Snell out, Langston Galloway. 40 minutes, Langston Galloway. He is the unofficial vice-captain of the sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit team.
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
40 minutes, 18 points last time out. But if he gets 40 minutes again in this game, he could have 40, 45 points really easily. So I like him as a GPP type of a guy. Derrick Rose is at 5,500. I think his ability to get above that is limited because of the playing time and the statistical diversity issues that he has. So he's okay for cash, but that's about it. While Bembry, if Cam Reddish is out, 4,100 for DeAndre Bembry looks like a pretty solid bet because he could push to 38, 39 minutes. Evan Turner not going to do it for me. At shooting guard, the Duck Luke Kennard, 6,300. His numbers, and I wrote about this in my Yahoo Sports Australia article today, his numbers alongside Blake Griffin, minimal sample, they've been pretty disturbing. I think he's had a 10% usage in the minutes they've shared the court. That is not good, and the assist rate has plummeted in that time. So 6,300, despite the minutes being up, is obviously a concern for Kennard. The Shark, Bruce Brown.
Baby shark,
$4,300 for Brown, not one that I'm super into here. McKay-Luke and Crab. Crab could, $3,200. If Reddish is out, Crab could bang in 24, 25 points, DraftKings points. Yeah, maybe. That's worth at least considering. Jabari's at 6,100. I think people will be a little bit off Jabari, averaging just 28 over the last 3. Fouled out last game in 27 minutes. I think there is value in using him here. DeAndre Hunter had a big one last time out, so he's jumped $700 in salary. 46 points he had. His best ever night. I don't particularly trust it, but he's been okay. I don't mind him for cash here. Vince Carter and Markieff, no. At center, Andre Drummond's at 8,500. Probably a little bit too highly priced for my tastes. Damo Jones, Bruno Fernando, big Chris Wood. Now, Chris Wood's probably the only one of that group that I'm interested in. He dropped 34 last game. If Morris is out, that really does help him at that 4,200 price point. All right, let's go on to the next game now. We are looking at the Sacramento Kings and the Brooklyn Nets. No spread out at this point. I guess they're waiting to hear on Kyrie Irving. They don't need to wait anymore. Kyrie Irving is out, as is Karis LeVert. For the Brooklyn squad, Trevor Ariza is out. Maybe they're waiting to hear the status of a couple of Kings players. Both Corey Joseph and Bogdan Bogdanovic are both questionable. If both of those guys miss, in conjunction with De'Aaron Fox, well, the Kings guards are absolutely rooted. There is no one there. There is Bud Hield, who'll play 48 minutes, and there is Kevin Farrell, who will play 48 minutes. Though they did bring Daquan Jeffries on the trip. I like Jeffries. He's a rookie two-way guy. He's not going to do much. Who else is going to... Justin James, who is trash. Who is going to play these minutes? There are some real issues in that backcourt if both of those blokes happen to be out. Of course, if they're out, Farrell and Hield become absolutely unbelievable DFS options, I believe. All right, let's look at the point guards. Joseph's at 4,900. He had a massive career-best assist night last time out, 38 points. I am not super into him as a player. That is the real outlier that last game. And at 4,900, you're paying up for what he did last game, so I'll probably fade that. I won't fade Spencer Dinwiddie, who's at 7,600, averaging 42 in his 3 starts. I'm all about Spence here. Really, really like that. And then you got Kevin Farrell, who is at 3,500, and that opportunity could absolutely burst wide open. At shooting guard, Smokin' Joe Harris is at 5,000. Quite disappointing from him lately. Only a tournament sort of guy. That's probably all I'd be looking at. Well, Bud Hield, 7,400. I like it, and we would smash the absolute shit out of it if Bogdanovic happens to be out, which we don't know at this point. As for Bogdan, he's at 7,600. Love it. Have to love it if he plays. Now, the hammy is a concern, but he's just putting up numbers so consistently, and that's a low price. Jana Moose's at 3,600. I wish they'd just lean into him a little bit more, but it's unlikely to happen, so we'll probably have to steer clear there. While the artist formerly known as Torian Prince bounced back with a 39-point performance last game, do I trust it? God, no. And that $1,000 salary rise is pretty scary. While the pencil, Harrison Barnes. Barnesy. Barnesy is at 5,900. Again, if we get Bogdanovic out, he is going to luck his way into 30 points pretty comfortably, Barnes, if that happens to be the case. So he would remain a really interesting guy there. For the bigs, DeAndre Jordan's at 54. I'm going to throw a big at that one. Nemanja Bjelica, 5,700. Bjelica's been giving us 30 a night and 5,700. What the hell more can you ask for? And again, injuries. His minutes are going to be up. I'm all about it. I'm fine with him. More for cash than tournaments, though. Rashawn Holmes is at 6,300. Pretty confident with that as well. Well, Jarrett Allen, that is a big jump. $1,100 up to 6,400. Because he dropped 48 last game, that's obviously interesting. But at that price point, I am a little bit worried about using him. And by a little bit worried, I mean I am a lot worried. So I don't think I'd be all that keen on putting him into a lineup. Next up, it's the Miami Heat. It's the Chicago Bulls. Miami is a 4.5-point favorite. The total is 214.5. Justice Winslow and Derek Jones Jr. are out. Otto Porter and Chandler Hutchison are out for the Chicago Bulls. At point guard, Zach LaVine, 6,700. Could he have been more trash lately? No. The salary has come down a pitiful $100. I would have liked a much bigger drop there. He's in play as a tournament guy, but Miami's defense is pretty bloody good, and Zach LaVine is the opposite of pretty bloody good, so that is going to cause some problems. Cody, why do I keep calling him Cody? Kobe White. 4,900 for Whitey. He's absolutely got that tournament upside with those injuries on the wing, but that's really about it. While Kendrick Nunn at 6,200. Maybe the injuries help him. Last game he just had 23 points. I think that's probably a little bit high. Chris Dunn at 4,500 is also limited in upside. Those steals are nice, but that's really about it. Satoransky I'm not keen on. The iron shoulder. Actually, Goran Dragic, Iron Shoulder at 5,600. I reckon that's really strong cash value. Limited upside, but strong cash value. While Big Shaq Harrison.
Big Shaq.
Yeah, Big Shaq indeed. He's at $5,000. That is an astonishingly large price rise. He had 45 points last game, which is probably the reason for it. I reckon that probably makes him a fade away sort of a guy as the starting small forward. That's just too much for Big Shaq Harrison. Jim Butler, 8,300. Just lock it in. I love that. He's not shooting well. He's getting to the line. He's doing things with passing. He gets steals. He's blocking shots. He's doing some really, really nice things. I like him a lot at that salary. You got Tyler Hero at 4,900. Maybe in a tournament. He has been less than good lately. He's been okay. I think is probably the best way of phrasing what he's been doing. And Dunk Robinson, $5,000 for Dunk. He dropped 36 in the last game. He's got that opportunity to do it again, of course, with Winslow out. But I would wager that he probably doesn't do what he did last game. At small forward, Thaddeus Young, 4,100. He's a small forward who refuses to be played at small forward because A, he is not a small forward, and B, he's not good at small forward anymore. So that's fair enough. His minutes actually went down last game despite the Hutchison and Porter injuries because Boylan, in one of the few things he did right, refused to play him at small forward. Thad's at 4,100. I don't mind it. I think there's probably better ones out there, but it's not horrible at that price. For the big man, Lowry Markkanen, he is at $6,000 because he found his shooting stroke, at least for one game. Let's see if it sticks. I think he's still in play at that price. Bam Bam Adebayo at 8,000 is pretty expensive for Bam, but this is a Bulls front court that allows centers to put up good numbers, so I do think he's okay there. Olynyk and Myers Leonard are always tough to get a hold on. While Wendell Carter is up to 6,100. Now, I love the Wendell Carter in the 5s range. I don't think I like him in the 6s. Although he's been putting up those numbers that are close enough to that, but I'm not super into him. While the one game Daniel Gafford experience ended in his second game, still in the rotation, of course. The next game, the San Antonio Spurs taking on the Philadelphia 76ers. We don't know what the Spurs are going to do here. Last game, they started Patty Mills over DeJounte Murray. We've got Maximum Derek White, who's dealing with foot soreness.
Maximum Derek.
He is listed as questionable. Will Jakob Poeltl get another start? I feel pretty good that he will. And I think if Poeltl starts, they will have to go to Mills as the starting point guard. So lots of uncertainty there. For the Sixers, Joshie Richardson and Trey Burke are both listed as questionable. Richardson missed last game. Burke hurt his ankle in the last game as well. So that could open up some Shake Milton minutes, some Furkan Korkmaz minutes, some Painter Matisse Thybulle minutes. So lots can open up there in Philadelphia. This is the first of a back-to-back, and Joel Embiid said he is playing in both of those games. So that's obviously an encouraging thing for him. And if you like Joel Embiid. At point guard, Ben Simmons, 8,100. Simo is averaging 44 over his last three. No reason to think that he can't go out there with another 40-plus performance. DeJounte's at 57. I think that's a little bit too highly priced given the uncertainty of what the hell role he's even going to play, while Maximum Derek is a strong-ass fade. Patty Mills at 51. If Millsy starts, he dropped 31 in the game last time when he started. He's at least interesting, but not a must-roster guy, while Bryn Forbes at 52. That price is pretty limiting, in my opinion. Trey Burke and Shake Milton, no thanks. Joshie Richardson's at 56. I don't mind it. There are better guys around, I think, for that salary. While DeMar DeRozan, 7,700, really rolling at the moment, not missing shots, 44 average over his last three. But if that shot falls off, there's nothing else there for him to get to that number. I don't dislike DeMar at this price, but he's also not at the top of my list of guys to use. Furkan is at 38, and I'd only really look at him as a tournament guy if Richardson happens to sit. At small forward, Toby Harris, 6,200. Yeah, I think that's about right for the cash price for Toby, but I think there's probably limited upside there in him. While Rudy Gay is at 53, who again has been around that mark as a cash guy with very, very limited upside to get better than that. Big man Al Horford, 5,700. A disappointing night last time for Horf. Still had 24 points. And the fact that he's come down $400 should actually make him an okay play here. A pretty bloody good play, in fact. Embiid is at 9,300. Again, that's a $700 price drop for Joel. Load me up, man. I don't know why it dropped so much. He still had 50 points last game. And by my calculations, that's still pretty good at that $9,300 mark. Jakob Poeltl's at 49. Even before the start, his numbers had been starting to improve. If we do hear he's starting in advance, I think 49 is a good enough cash value play there, while Aldridge at 7,000. The fact that he's down at 7,000 probably does take him away a little bit more from his from that GPP only type situation into more of a cash type of a guy. Alrighty then, let's move on to the next one. The Lakers and the Thunder. The Lakers are 4.5-point favorites. The total is 211. Both Kyle Kuzma and Anthony Davis, I say both, but it's three blokes. Anthony Davis, Kyle Kuzma, and Alex Caruso are all listed as probable for the Lakers. For the Thunder, MC Hamidou Diallo is out.
Stop. Hammer time.
As is Andre Robertson. Does anybody actually know if Andre Robertson is still alive? Because it's been a very bloody long time since we have seen him in an NBA game. At point guard, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 6,400. Let's move on to a different point guard because I'm not keen on that. Dennis Schroeder is another point guard. He's at 5,500 and he played really well last game against the number one defense in the NBA. I think I'll leave that alone. While Chris Paul's at 7,100. Paul has been rolling lately. He's been putting up 36 a night. The Lakers defense, it worries me a bit with Chris, so I think I might fade off on him. While LeBron at 11.3 has been a 60-point machine, realistically, over the last few games, and no reason to think he won't be able to do it again. Rondo at 4,600, he has the big assist games, he has the nice scoring games. It's not really translating into great DFS value, 25 points last time, and at 4,600, it's okay, but it's not the best, so I think he's not someone to really get too interested in. At shooting guard, Terry Ferguson, yeah, that's going to be a no from me. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope at 39. With Avery Bradley out, Caldwell-Pope is putting up low 20s. Does that get you excited? If it does, you probably should get excited by different things. Well, Danny Green's at 4,200. I'm not really all that interested in him. The future MVP, Kyle Kuzma, hurt his eye. He's going to play in goggles. He's at 4,300. Sure, you want to get interested in him as a GPP guy, by all means, knock yourself out. I will not be knocking myself out with him. While the Italian cock, the rooster, Danilo Gallinari.
Hands off my cock!
He is at 6,100 and he is giving us those numbers lately. The defensive issues here in terms of the Lakers is a bit of a worry for Gallinari, but I still think that he is not a bad cash play in this spot. Darius Bazley is not. For the big men, Dwight's at 4,300. That's a nice price drop, but he's not giving us the numbers we need. Steve Adams is also really struggling at the moment. I'm not massively keen on him against this Lakers team. These two teams just played each other not long ago as well. And it did enable Dwight and McGee to play a few more minutes. They wanted to match him up against Steven Adams. But with the way Adams is playing, he's not getting 30 a night. We're seeing a lot more Nerlens Noel. Tone Davis is at 10-1. Sign me up for that. That is a great price for Anthony Davis. And Noel at 4,500. Noel is averaging 27 points over his last three. Coming in, getting his defensive numbers up. I don't really like it for DFS, but especially with a $500 price rise on it. But it's not a complete write-off, I don't think. The next game up for us to look at, the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Dallas Mavericks, Cavs v Mavs. Mavs are favored by 10. The total is 220. Brandon Knight is probable. We have got a potential lineup change for the Cavs. They switched things up at halftime last time out with Clarkson, Dellavedova, and Kevin Porter replacing Chetty Osman, Darius Garland, and the Padawan Colin Sexton. I think there's a real chance that either Dellavedova starts this game for Garland or Porter starts this game for Osman. So just be aware that a change could be in the works. Of course, a change is always in the works for the Mavericks. Seth Curry is questionable with an illness. John Henson's out for the Cavs as well, while Tristan Thompson should return, limiting Larry Nance, unfortunately. Last time out, we had Timmy Hardaway step into the starting lineup for Curry, but he played almost exactly the same minutes as he always did, while Jalen Brunson got the biggest boost there. At point guard, the man, Luka Doncic, 11,400. He is averaging an absolutely astonishing 70 points over his last three games, and now it's the Cavs. He had 75 points in 26 minutes against the Warriors. Donch at 11.4 is a really good option. The Padawan Colin Sexton's at 5,000. There is zero upside in him, while Delon Wright is really being limited at the moment. Darius Garland all the way down to 3,800. Is it worth the tournament look? I say probably not. Well, Daly and Brunson, maybe Daly at absolute minimum salary. If we hear he's starting, he could give you 21 or 22, and that would actually be good at 3,000. But, we don't know that at this point. For your shooting guards, Clarko's at 4,400, Kevin Porter at 39. I'd actually like Porter if he starts over Osman at that salary, and Timmy Hardaway's at 45 again. Had 28 in the start with Curry out. Maybe you could look at him, but I'm not super keen there. At small forward, Finney Smith's at 43, Osman's at 39. Chetty Osman has been atrociously bad this season, while Justin Jackson played a lot of minutes last time and had 17 points in true Justin Jackson fashion. Shout out to Tony Snell. For the big men, Kristaps Porzingis. He is at 7,300. for all of these struggles of Porzingis, he's still giving us 35 on a basic night. And now, again, it's against the Cavs. He averages 45 the last 3 times against Cleveland. No reason he can't drop a 40 bomb on their heads here. Let's go. Dwight Powell, no thanks. Tristan Thompson at 57. His numbers, his minutes, his production have all been waning of late, so I will not be going to the Thompson well here. While Kevin Love at 7,800, really putting up some pretty interesting numbers. I just think with 10 games on, you can find a few more reliable options here. Kleber's at 4,000 and Larry Nance at 55. We love what Nance did last game with 37 points, but that was with no Tomo. He played 35 minutes, and I have the utmost lack of confidence. Maybe that's better in Beeline playing him enough minutes to realize our dreams. The next game on the slate for us to take a peek at, the Boston Celtics on the road in Denver after that massive overtime game against the Clippers. They take on the Nuggets. The Nuggets are 4.5 point favorites. The total is 206, so a pretty low total. We know that Gordon Hayward is out, of course, for Boston. At point guard, Monty Morris is at 3,500. No. Kemba Walker's at 76. A nice price drop for Kemba, but you know why it's dropped? Because he's averaging under 29 points the last 3 games. Now, there's a massive chance he gets back on track here. I actually like him at that salary quite a bit. The Blue Arrow, Jamal Murray's at 7,200, and he has been rolling. He's averaging 37 over the last 5, but the Celtics have been a notoriously good defensive team, especially when Marcus Smart is out there. I think Murray can still give you 35, but he's not the number 1 point guard type option out there. Brady Wanamaker dropped 27 last game. Of course he did. He's averaging 21 over the last 5 games. But the fact is his price is up to 4,300. At 3,200, I'd say, yeah, you know what? He's really benefiting from the Hayward injury, but that price is probably just a little bit too high. At shooting guard, Gaz Harris.
Nice, Gary!
Hasn't been that nice. He's at 4,700. I'm not really massive onto him. While Jaylen Brown, it's been bad Jaylen the last couple of games. He's down to 6,800. That should give you at least some tournament value in him, but it hasn't been good. The percentages have been way off. At small forward, Jace Tatum, 7,500. Love what he's doing. 40-point guy. Love it. Absolutely love that price for Tates. While Grant Williams and Mick Porter Jr., Juancho Hernan-Gomez, none of them are doing it for us. Big Chungus, Nikola Jokic, 8,600, sort of getting back on track. I don't mind that price for Jokic. He could easily be a $10,000 guy, so he's in play. While Paul Millsap at 59, just rock solid type stuff from Millsap. His lowest score in his last 5 has been 30 DraftKings points. Vanilla Tice is at 4,900. He dropped 40 against the Clippers. That's huge. He's averaging 27 across the last 5. He's getting the bulk of those minutes at center. Am I ready to get interested in him here? No, I'm not. Mason Plumlee, Jeremy Grant, Enes Kanter, the Rock DJ, Robbie Williams, they're all pretty strong fades for me. All right, next game up is the Golden State Warriors and the Utah Jazz. Will this be as ugly as when the Warriors got their pants pulled down against Dallas? Well, if Draymond Green sits, then yes. Green is questionable in this one. Of course, D'Angelo's out and Steph's out and Kevon Looney's out and Alan Smilagic are out. So there's quite a bit of firepower missing from this Warriors team. At point guard, Draymond is at 5,800. Now, if Draymond plays at 5,800, love it. That is great. He had 42 in the game before he got hurt. 42 at 5,800. That is a very low price for Mr. Green. Mick Conley, 6,500. Don't mind Conley here, especially in this matchup. I'm not sure the upside is massive, but there is still some value. While the Don Mitchell, 7,900.
He's Don. He's good.
He has been just consistently churning out 40s almost every night, and at 7,900, what more could you want? Alec Burks at 5,700. Burksy is inconsistent. It's a tough matchup. Maybe for tournaments, we look at him. Moutier, the lubricant Kai Bowman at 5,200. That's a big price rise for Bowman there. Only a tournament spot if Draymond happens to sit. At shooting guard, Jingle and Joe's at 44. No. Glenn Robinson at 46. No. Jordan Poole, the swimmer, 4,100. Probably not going to do him either. At small forward, Bojan Bogdanovic at 6,200. Really, really strong last time out from Bogdanovic. I'm not sure that he is an absolute lock-in type of a guy, but there is some solid enough cash floor value there, while the triangle, Eric Pascal at 63. Now, if Draymond's out, I like Pascal as a cash option. He struggles in so many areas, but he's going to get so much usage if Draymond happens to sit. He's just going to have everything run through him, and he's giving us 30 a night, which at 6,300 is about where you want it to be. Gobert at 82, love that. That is Smash City for Gobert. He's giving us 47 a night over his last 5, while Cauley Stein is the opposite of Smash City. Let's leave him out of this. Marquise Chris, actually going to talk about him here. 4,700 for Chris. If Draymond is out, Chris is averaging 29 over the last 3 in 22 minutes. He'll push to 22 to 23 minutes if Draymond is out. He's worth a tournament look otherwise. But if Draymond is out, I think he actually... Oh God, it's so hard to say it. I don't know if I can bring myself to do it. Is he a cash guy? Maybe. If Draymond's out. It's real tough. I apologize for that oral sensation. The next one, the Rockets and the Clippers. The Clippers are 4.5 point favorites. The total is 226.5. Kawhi Leonard is not listed on the injury report.
I'm a fun guy.
Danny House is doubtful, so we're going to get Ben McLemore at small forward. That should go well against Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. At point guard, Rivers is at 3,700. Yeah, nah. Russell Westbrook is at 8,400. Westbrook's been around the 40-point mark. He's sort of up and down. He's definitely inconsistent. He's more of a tournament sort of guy, while Jimmy Harden, 11,700. Let's go. He's getting 50 almost without doubt, and probably going to push to 60. So we're always like him. Lou Williams at 66. I don't mind that price for Lou. He's in a little bit of sell high territory for seasonal leagues, but at that salary, he's okay. I probably do steer off him here. Well, Paddy Beverly, just an astonishing 57-point performance last time out against Boston. That is the real outlier. His salary has gone up by 1,200, so that is probably one we need to stay away from, would be my guess. McLemore's at 39. At 3,900, he is a tournament play if he gets 35 minutes. Maybe he stumbles into 20 points. Maybe. And then Scooter Magruder's a no. At small forward, Paulie George, 8,100 for the Beatle. He has been really strong this year. He's either scoring, he's getting assists, 45 points in that first game without Kawhi. I think you like that value there for him. While the fun guy himself at 95, I'll take Paul George at $1,400 less than Kawhi at this stage. While PJ Tucker is a no, Flamin' Mo Harkless is a no, as is Tabo Cephalosha and JaMychal Green. For the big men, the 20 rebound man, Clint Capella, 7,700, 20 rebounds in 5 consecutive games. Averaging 47 DraftKings points during that time. The salary's gone down somehow. I'm in on Capella here, even if I don't think he gets 20 rebounds. While the table, Montrezl Harrell, a little bit disappointing against Boston, just 25 points, 6,200. How's the usage going to go? It wasn't great last game. Let's see how it all pans out here. He's probably one I steer clear of, while if it's a Zubac at 4,200 for the Pokemon, is not someone that has a really safe floor or a really exciting ceiling. Let's look at some FanDuel guys that I like here. Galloway at 4,000 really stands out. John and Musa at minimum salary, maybe. The Tank at 6,900 for Tom Bryant. Rudy Gobert looks good. Trae Young looks good. Derrick Rose looks okay. Jokic, McLemore, Simmons, Devontae Graham, Bembry, Embiid, Dunk Robinson as a GPP type of guy on FanDuel also looks marginally appealing. That'll wrap it up for me. I'll be back with the next show looking at a Week 6 fantasy preview, then my waiver wire show, then back into stuff for next week. Don't forget, subscribe Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and on YouTube so you never miss an episode. And hitting that thumbs up on YouTube and subscribing is a great way to help this channel. I really do appreciate it. Follow me on Twitter at redrock_bball. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya. Mike Conley.